Most tech founders don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they keep making the same mistakes without realizing it. I've seen it again and again. Smart product teams, solid features, really talented engineers, but they stall out. Not from lack of effort, from lack of reflection. They either repeat the same mistakes or avoid them entirely. And then the more experienced you are, the more trapped you might feel. I worked at a video game studio that had just launched an award-winning title. But 6 months into their next big project, nothing. The same team completely stuck. Why? Because they're afraid to make the wrong move. They were afraid to break their winning streak. They were afraid to lose status. This isn't just a new founder problem. Beginners fear making mistakes as well. Experienced leaders fear what failure might say about who they are. And that's exactly why you need a system. A while back, I came across this book called The Daily Trading Coach. It's written for stock traders, but one idea hit me hard. The author told traders to keep a daily journal of their trades, their thinking, their emotions, so they could learn and self-coach. I loved the idea, so I applied it to business. And that's how the learning loop was born. Today, I'll show you exactly how to use it and how it could have saved that elite game team 6 painful months. Let's go. Most founders don't have a failure problem. They have a feedback problem. Mistakes constantly come up in business. Product calls, hiring decision, launch timing, pricing. But unless you're tracking those mistakes and extracting the lessons, you're probably just going to repeat them in different ways. I've worked with a founder building a vertical SaaS platform. Smart product, solid early traction, but churn started creeping up. He'd try one tweak, wait a couple weeks, try something else. Onboarding video, a tooltip, revision, an in-app notification, but none of it stuck because he wasn't documenting what he was trying. He wasn't asking why users were bailing, and he wasn't reflecting on what was actually working. So he stayed stuck in what I call the repetition trap, making the same mistake with slightly different UX. But here's another trap I see just as often, especially with successful experienced founders: the fear trap. This is when you stop making moves entirely. You hesitate to ship, you overplan instead of testing. You avoid asking the tough questions because you might not like the answer. And it's so subtle because it feels like strategy, but it's actually paralysis. You're not avoiding mistakes, you're avoiding what those mistakes might say about you. And when that fear kicks in, your business starts to stall. You lose momentum, and the scariest part, you often don't realize it's happening until you're months deep. So what's the real cost of all this? What happens when you keep repeating mistakes? Or worse, avoid them altogether? Well, you stop growing. You lose momentum, and eventually you start doubting yourself. Not just your strategy, you start doubting you. And when your identity is built around being the high performer, the founder who always figures it out, failure doesn't just feel frustrating, it feels threatening. I felt this firsthand recently when I got my purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I noticed a shift. Suddenly, I started thinking, I can't get tapped by a blue belt. If I do, maybe I don't deserve this rank. And here's the thing, that might be true. What also might be true is some of those blue belts were training twice a day. I was going a few times a week, but I still found myself avoiding those roles. Not because I thought I'd learn less, but because I was afraid of what it would say about me if I lost. That's when I realized fear of failure doesn't just block progress, it distorts reality. It was making me avoid risk. It was making me play smaller. I was saying no to the exact situation that would benefit me. And the further you go as a founder, the more tempting this trap becomes. Because now it's not just about the mistake, it's about protecting that status you built. This is what's actually going on. You can't grow while trying to protect your ego. Because in business, in jiu-jitsu, in life, you're either winning or you're learning, and fear steals both. So how do you fix this? How do you turn those mistakes into progress consistently? Well, you need a system. One that's simple enough to stick and powerful enough to compound. I call it the learning loop. And here's how it works. I'll take you through the 5 steps. Step 1, you're gonna log the mistake. What happened? And write it down like a security camera would describe it. No drama, no story, just the facts. This will give you the clarity that you need to really understand the situation. Step 2, track the emotion. What did you feel? Was it frustration, shame, resentment? That emotional signal is your cheat code for growth. All the wisdom you need is in there. The catch? Well, you gotta feel all your feelings, no matter how difficult that might be. There are no shortcuts here. Step 3, this is where you extract the lesson. What did you assume that turned out wrong? What was missing in your thinking, in your system, maybe in your leadership? This is the moment that turns that loss into a lever. Then step 4, systematize it. This is where you create an SOP, your standard operating procedure for that part of your business. Because if your insight does not change how your business runs, it's just a note. There's no leverage there. Step 5, review it weekly. Just block out 10 to 15 minutes and reread your entries. Spot those patterns. This is how you're gonna build that wisdom that compounds. That's it, 5 steps. Easy to track and easy to run. And if you're consistent with it, it'll change everything. Because while most founders are still reacting to those same fires, you're gonna be building a company that learns faster than it fails. Let me show you what this looks like in the real world. So let's go back to that game studio I mentioned earlier. So they just shipped that award-winning title. Top reviews, massive success. This was the A-team, the best of the best. But 6 months into their next project, and nothing. No real progress. Morale was obviously low. People were quitting. And when I stepped into those first meetings, I could feel the tension. We would be discussing a routine decision, and it felt like life or death. That's when I realized this wasn't about the game. It was about something else. It was about fear. Fear of getting it wrong. Fear of not living up to what they've already done. Fear of losing that status. So the team wasn't lazy. They were just stuck. And here's exactly how I would have done it if I would have had the learning loop back then. So let's go through the 5 steps. Step 1, log the mistake. Award-winning team stalled for 6+ months. Emotionally charged meetings, team avoiding decisions, morale dropping, and talent leaving. Move to step 2, track the emotion. What I sensed but couldn't name back then was deep anxiety. Not just about the project, but about what failure might say about them. Their identity was on the line. Step 3, extract the lesson. So the problem here wasn't clarity, it was emotional safety. They needed to feel okay failing again. They need to embrace imperfection. They needed to put back on their white belts and start learning like a beginner. Step 4, systematize it. So I simplified the decision-making process. I told the team, looks like there are 3 paths up this mountain. We collectively don't know which one to go up. So it seems like this one makes the most sense. So let's start walking up this path. And if it doesn't work, we can just backtrack and go up the next one. No problem. So what did we do? We ran weekly sprints on Monday, started on a path. By Friday, we would regroup, reflect, and re-chose. Done. So let's move to step 5, review weekly. So you know what? In this case, we actually reviewed every Friday. Not just about the output, but it was about insight. What did we learn? What got heavy? What's still unclear? And you know what? The pressure dropped. The pace picked up, and just like that, momentum returned. Looking back, I'm proud what we unlocked, but I also see where the learning loop would have helped us go further, faster. Back then, I had decent intuition, but I didn't have the framework. I didn't have the language to name the fear, to track the emotion, or to formalize the insight. That's the difference a system can make. It's not just about knowing what to do, it's about understanding why people freeze and how to help them move again. You don't need to be perfect, you just need a loop, a way to turn every missed call into an opportunity for growth, every hesitation into a test, every mistake into a system, every setback into a step forward. This is how you become a leader who compounds, not just a product builder, but a learning machine. So here's your challenge. Start your learning loop this week. You can use Notion, ClickUp, Google Sheets. It doesn't matter. Just start building a space with those 5 steps. Step 1, log the mistake. Step 2, track the emotion. Step 3, extract the lesson. Step 4, systematize. And step 5, weekly review. Just 10 to 15 minutes a week. That's it. If you want to get a head start, I've linked a free template below. Grab it and make it your own. Start compounding today. And if you found this useful, drop a comment, share it with a friend, or subscribe, because I drop systems like this every week. Tools for smarter leadership, frameworks for faster growth, and lessons I wish I could share with my younger self. I'll see you in the next one, and remember, you're either winning or you're learning, so let's make sure you're doing both.